Hello, welcome to my channel. The main rule for the quilting is that there are no rules. You will learn, you will watch others, and you will find the methods and ways of quilting that works for you. And that's the most important thing, because you need to find what works for you to be able to enjoy the process. What you will see is my process of working with different materials and different designs, and I hope some of those tips and tricks will help you in your own journey. Hi, it's Paula from Paula Quilting. Today another scrappy project, and this is going to be Wonky Flowers number 2. We had one from my UFO series, now actual blog. So my friend have sent me a picture of the quilt she made, and she had a great flowers made on that quilt, and I was like, oh my god, is seriously awesome. And straight away I had a look at it and I was like, this is going to be great for using up some scraps as well. So I've drawn a picture of what that block could look like, but I don't want to use obviously any fabric which is, you know, in big bundles. I've got still big boxes of the scraps, so that's where I want to go with. So I also had in my stash some of ready-made crumb blocks. If you never made crumb blocks, I will link in the description below and above how to make those. So that was lucky for me, half job done. And then the remaining fields will be a background fabric and then a stem in the middle, and then the leaf. Now with the leaf, possibly you could work out something to have it just sewn. However, I've got quite a lot of cut-offs from making a string quilt, so I was thinking, can I use it up somehow? So that part will be stitched up on top of the block itself. So I've got quite a lot of green, so I hope I will be able to cut some wonky leaves and use it up as well. So we shall see how it goes. So the block itself is quite big. It's 12.5 when sewn together, and but you could scale it down if you want. So for this centerpiece, which is the flower, top of the flower itself, I will be using crumb, which will be 6.5 by 6.5. I'm gonna have to trim those a little bit. They will be snowballed with the background fabric, and then the rest will be the background fabric. You could scale it down to maybe 4.5 and make a block 8.5 square if you want to, so you can play with it. Hopefully it will be quite versatile block to go with the scraps. Now I will be trying to use up my scraps. Like I said, I've got different type of cutouts, you know, from different shades of fabric, so I will try use those. If you by any chance got white-ish crumbs ready, that will be perfect, you know, way to use them up as well. I don't have anything ready made, so I will actually use any strips I've got in my block in neutral colors and just put them together. Most of those are white, but I probably will find later something maybe creamish or grayish, so that can be all added up into that pile ready to be stitched together. Okay, so I cut my squares to 6.5 inches, and before I start adding my background, I need to snowball those pieces to make it more round. I'm just going through my 4.5 inch by 2.5 inch box. If you've seen my scrap management video, is one of those sizes I always cut my pieces to, just, you know, building up until I've got enough to make a quilt out of it. And I'm just going through to see if there's anything I can use, you know, in my quilt, very neutral, and I might have few, not many, and if not, I will just start using the bigger pieces in my scrap block scrap box. So because this is 6.5, I don't want to go to the middle of it. I want to have a kind of corners, but I don't want those corners be literally on the corners, so they will be in different kind of variations for each of them. So if you've got your scraps cut to about 2.5 by 4.5, you should be able to kind of cover it with that. and then, you know, here might be a little bit longer. I think I won't use this one. I think I will go with more neutral ones. If it doesn't have a pattern, or it's got like a very small pattern, that will be the better choice of the fabric. Also, you can have a look if the left side of the fabric will look better. I tried on this one, but this is still quite dark, so I won't be using that. I've got 4 pieces here. I'll be chain piecing 4 at the time, just to show you how it works. Sewn all around my squares. I'll take it now to the iron it out, and then I will square them up again. Okay, so I've got my center of the flowers ready. Now I need to add the strips to the sides to build it up. I hope you've noticed that I have not been taking it to the ironing board anywhere in between. I will take it once when I finish adding, and also like with any crumb blocks, or you know, any heavily pieced in bit together, I always recommend use the starch at that last ironing before you will be squaring it up, or you know, making cuttings out of it. So I will carry on, and I will come back to show you after they've been squared up. I'm using literally any scraps I've got in my box. Those are different width of the strips, different lengths. I'm not, you know, bothered at all about you know, what they look like at the moment. I'm just working through them, and I'm just adding to make sure that when I finish I will have that more than 12.5 on the width. So I can square it up to that size and start working on the bottom side of the block. Okay, so I finished adding the strips, and all of those blocks should be now at least 12.5 inch wide. Let me just double check quickly. Yeah. I did starch them, so they're quite nice to work with now. Just quickly to show you how I ironed it. I basically put the iron on one side and then just slide through this side, and did the other side the same way. Because we're squaring those blocks parts as we go along, you know, you don't have to be so precise in individual steps. So now I would like to square one of the sides of those blocks to make it nice and straight. I won't be yet squaring up on the width to 12.5. I just want to prepare the surface here, or the side, to add the next part, and then I will square it up to 12.5 on the very end. I will just take, you know, again, my strips from my scrap box. I just want to make sure that they, you know, when I kind of take 1/4 inch from here and then 1/4 inch from here, that I've got some left over. That's all what it is. So at least an inch, I would say, in the width here. If it's more, that's great, because you can square it up later, and I've got some wider pieces here as well, so I will use those. Oh, that's nice long piece. So I will now add it to the one side of each of the blocks. Okay, so I've got the top done. For now I can put those pieces aside, and I will take them to the ironing board when I've got the next part of the block ready to iron as well. but this is where we are at the moment. So what are we going to work on now is the bottom part of the block, and I want to have more or less 5 inches here. First of all, we want to have something in the middle. Let me just bring one back actually, because I want to see first how wide I want to have it. So this is 1.5 strip, and I think, yeah, that will be perfect size for this 6.5 inch square it was before. Now if you go with the smaller, you may like to narrow down the stems. So I want to have at least 5.5 inch wide that strip, so I think I will cut them to 6, and again that will leave me you know, space to trim them and square up that piece of block before I stitch it to the top part. So now again I want to start building up on the right and left side. I will do it more or less, because I don't need to have that stem kind of, you know, actual middle of this block. It can be, you know, it's wonky block, so it can go either way. The same thing if you're doing the center and the sides of it. I will trim them, but this block is not necessarily exactly in the middle, and that's fine. It's a wonky block, so it can be a little bit offset. You may even go ahead and within your design put them on more on the sides, on one side, on another side. That will look as well great if you have a, you know, whole column of flowers and they kind of going like in the chevron. That's another design you can go, you know, you can create with that wonky flower. So a lot of possibilities there. Just would like to have more shades of that background in my blocks, but doesn't look like I've got many choices in my bucket. So I will start adding the strings to the right and left side of that green bead, the same way as I did with the square, and I will come back when I finish to show you how it's added together. Okay, so I finished sewing on my strip sets, you can call it that way. So I will just square the top side of it. I will leave the bottom as is for now. It will be easy to square up the whole block later. On some of those blocks, or those bottom halves, I've managed to find some of the brighter fabrics, and I actually use the left side of those fabrics as a right hand side of the fabric, because those were quite dark. But if you put the left side of it instead of the right, it kind of blends in nicer. So okay, let's put it on and let's see how it will look together. So that doesn't look bad, and I can now stitch it together. Okay, so I've stitched together first one. This is where we are. I'm not going to be squaring it up yet, because when we do some stitching on top of it with the leaves, it still made this, you know, distort little bit, but it's quite nicely starched, so we should not have any problem with that. So for the applique, I will be using glue to hold the fabric in place. And the key to use any glue in the sewing is to make sure that you leave some time for the glue to dry. That will make sure that your machine doesn't gunk up when you want to later stitch it. So like I've mentioned before, I've got a box of cutouts from doing the strings, and a lot of those are green because that was the colors I was using at the time. So I would like to use up some of those pieces to make my leaves out of it. So not sure whether I should kind of even try to make it a little bit round here, or just leave it edged. To be fair, each of them I can make different, and that will work too. So I will add those and then glue them up. Just see if I've got different angle here. No, got the one in the same direction when I was doing the string piecing. No, this one's going right direction. So literally I'll just go through and we'll add some detail basically to my work now, and we'll see how it will look when it's done. So I will add maybe one or two to the stem. Now you decide yourself how many of the leaves you want. It really only depends how much time you want to spend on making the applique, because obviously each of those elements will need to be done separately. So you know, if you don't want to spend too much time, make them, you know, smaller, or make one leaf coming out or one bigger leaf. If you're okay to spend a little bit more time of it, you want to make it more intricate, add more detail, more leaves. So I'll carry on with my other 3 blocks, and then I'll resume when they dry and I'm ready to applique. Now with those blocks, because I had them ready, then obviously it is what it is, I had at the time. If you're going to be preparing blocks to go in the middle, what you can do, and what looks very nice, is do a small hexy-ish shape inside. Not, you know, it doesn't have to be actual hexy, just something resembling hexy, and then go with strings all around. That will make nice, like a rose pattern in it. It's the next day. Apologies in advance for some background noise, but my children are watching TV just behind the door. So I've got my flowers. The leaves are not going anywhere. You know, I didn't glue them all around, so they are not having any edges which are not moving, but they don't go anywhere on its own. So that's where we want it to be. And I was also thinking about, do I want to keep them 12.5 or maybe smaller size, maybe 10.5 will make a better kind of composition, and I will get to it at the end, so watch the space. Now the time to stitch those in place. So have a look on your machine, what you've got there. If you have a zigzag, that's absolutely fine, just narrow it down, make it not so wide, and you're all sorted. You can go with the zigzag. Some of the machines might have some sort of blanket stitch, that would be great too. Any stitch which will allow you to kind of tighten it up, you can use that. So, you know, if you haven't done anything like this before, just do some testing on the piece of scrap and see what will give you the best results. What you want to achieve is secured edge, which will not move even if you wash it 20 times. You know, we still will be quilting on top of it, so it's not like, you know, it's a final holding it down, but obviously this is raw edge and you want to secure it as best as you can so it doesn't fray. I mean, you could use a straight stitch, go around a few times, like maybe a couple millimeters from the edge as well. That will work too, but obviously that will give you a different effect. Once you wash a few times, quilt like that, and obviously that a little bit of fraying will happen. Again, you know, it's your choice how you want to have them finished up. So I've set up my stitch to blanket one. It's 2 points narrow, 1.5 in distance, and I'm just going to go slowly first few times just to see if that's the type I want. I cannot go any narrower than that, and you know, for some it will be enough, but I think I rather have it, you know, secure it the way that it really will not go anywhere after I wash it, you know, 5,000 times. So I will swap to a small zigzag and I will make it very, very narrow. So again, a little bit of testing, and that looks fine. So I'm set up at the 2.5 with a 0.6 in the distance between one zig to another zag, and especially on the corners, just go slower there. Making sure that the outer edge is really going against your outer edge of the fabric, so you are securing those edges very well. Now in this place I've got the raw edge inside as well, so I will go in, because those are the scraps, so from the cutting from the string twist blocks, so those edges may be like all over the place. Okay, I'll carry on with that one. I will speed up a little bit here so you don't have to you know, watch it going painfully slow, and I will do a close-up when I finish this one, just to give you the view how it looks. Okay, so I finished stitching the leaves, and I actually went twice all around it. Like I said, I need them to stay where they are, don't go anywhere. The quills will be washed, dried, washed, dry, so you know, you want to have it there. But I also, going second time, I've added some details on those leaves, and I think they look quite nice. And I also then went through the stem itself and added some more. Alright, I finished my flowers, and I did actually square them up to 10.5. I tried with 12.5, and it was too big around. So maybe if I had, you know, different shape of the flower or made it bigger, that would make a kind of better proportion there. But with that size, 10.5 works much better. So I trimmed them down, all of them to that size. I still got my crumb blocks, and I have a ready pile of the string blocks. How I made those, I've got tutorials as well. I will link them in the description below so you can have a look. So I think what I would like to do, they are smaller, they are 8.5 inches, both of them, so obviously I need to bring them up a little bit bigger. So I will pop it on the design wall and try to work out what I can put where, and then I will add the frames to those blocks. So I also need to kind of audition you know, what fabric, what colors to use to make the best effect. I think the blocks which will be the closest to this ones, obviously I don't think I would like to have a white frame because that's already bright, but let me put on design wall and let me show you what I'm thinking about. Okay, so I popped my blocks on the design board, and I like those blocks very much. They look good, but I think if I had a quilt just with those flowers, it might be a little bit, you know, the color would have been not great. So it does look nice with mixed up with the string blocks or crumb blocks. It just brings those colors out. But this one is obviously 10.5, and those ones are 8.5, so I need to add some borders to it. So I've got some 1.5 inch strips cut already from my scrap box. So I was thinking to fence these ones with the white border, so it kind of will go with those flowers, and then the string blocks put something else. It's just to again add a little bit of pop of color. So because this color kind of appears a lot in those crumb blocks, I think that will not be a bad choice. Or maybe something darker, or something lighter. I would say always take some time to kind of audition your colors. However, don't overdo either, because the more you think about something, it's just, you know, the more trouble you will be in. I think, like, you know, first 3-second decision, I think that's the color I will go with. This is a little bit too bright, this is a little bit too dark. I think this color will go perfect, especially that it appears on those flowers as well, so we kind of bring it all together. So like I said, all the crumb blocks will have a white borders to go with the flowers, all the string blocks will have that like faded pink color. and then I will put it back on the wall and I will show you how it looks together. Okay, so I finished all the frames and I popped it back on the design wall, and I think it looks very good, but what I now have lost with framing these blocks is that white strip link, kind of when I've put it first together, that white bit kind of linked to the flowers, and now because it's framed it's gone. So what I will do, I will snowball all of those corners. I've got some 2.5-inch squares, so I think once I snowball them it will kind of link it back together, both to those flowers blocks and those white frames here. And one more thing, and do you remember these ones? Those are the bits I cut out from squaring up 8.5 to 6.5 chunks to make the flowers, and I already started designing quilt with those cuts out, so please subscribe so you don't miss on that one, because that will be a great project as well. And here it is, my mash of the quilt from string blocks, crumb flowers, some embroidery, and you know, everything together. I think it came out quite nicely. I quite like the detail of the snowballed corners in the string blocks. It kind of pulls it all together with the other white frames in the other blocks. So if you have somewhere in your cupboard some string blocks, some crumb blocks, you know, put aside and you're not sure what to do with them, try that layout. I'm not saying you need to make those flowers, but I think the strings and crumb blocks together, a little bit, you know, added with the added border, looks very nice quilt as well. So hopefully that will give you some inspiration to use your own blocks in similar way. If you like this tutorial, please give your thumbs up. Please comment if you have any questions or you just want to say hello. I really like to read comments after the tutorials, and I hope you'll be back. Subscribe if you haven't done so, so you always will be notified about new tutorials. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe to my channel to support my work. For further inspiration and examples of my work, you can check my Instagram or Facebook page. Happy creating!